Hey guys, today I'm filming my single shadows of the month video for May 2017. This month I use all MAC eyeshadows and pigments. This was really fun for me because I've had pigments for a really long time and I've never used these at all, or maybe once or twice over the past 4 or 5 years, which is absolutely ridiculous. So it was really fun to play with pigments, and it was also fun to just rock some of my favorite MAC eyeshadows and come up with different looks using them. So if you guys are unfamiliar with my palette of the month or single shadow of the month series, I'll have my playlist linked down below. And in the single shadows of the month videos, I am going to show you guys the shadows, give you the color description, show you swatches. I will also talk about dupes. All of my dupes and several of my color descriptions will be coming from Temptalia.com. Christine has the best blog ever for product swatches, reviews, and dupes. So I want to give you guys as much information as I can. I also am going to be showing you all of the looks I created with these eyeshadows, and I will be talking about the formula, texture, and pigmentation of all of these shades. So this month I used 4 MAC pressed shadows and 3 of their pigments. My first shadow is MAC Stars and Rockets, which is described as a warm lavender with a blue flash, and this is a Volux Pearl finish. Here is a swatch of MAC Stars and Rockets. MAC Shimmermoss is described as a neutral teal with gold flash, and this also has a Volux Pearl finish. This shade was discontinued, but Aquadelic is very similar, but it has a different finish. And here's a swatch of MAC Shimmermoss. MAC Expensive Pink is described as a warm coral with an intense gold flash. This is a Volux Pearl finish, and it is basically NARS Orgasm in an eyeshadow. And here's a swatch of MAC Expensive Pink. MAC Free to Be is a warm pinky coral with a matte finish. This was originally a pro shadow, but I believe it may have been discontinued. And here's the swatch of MAC Free to Be. Moving on to the pigments, MAC Rose is described as a rose with copper sparkle. It's a medium dark pink with lots of chunky gold glitter. Here is a swatch of MAC Rose Pigment. MAC Teal Pigment is a shimmery, deep, greeny blue teal. Here is a swatch of Teal Pigment. Compared to Shimmermoss, you can see it has similar undertones, but it is a lot more rich of a shade. MAC True Chartreuse is a very bright yellow green with a matte finish. And here is a swatch of MAC True Chartreuse. I believe this pigment has been discontinued. They do have a pigment called Chartreuse on their website, which is not the same. It is lighter, more yellow, and also is shimmery. I was able to create 7 different looks using these shadows. So now into the details of all of those looks. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the Maybelline Color Tattoo in Edgy Emerald. On top of that base, I am using the MAC Pigment in the shade Teal. From the Urban Decay Naked palette, I'm using Naked as my transition color and Buck as my crease color. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, I'm wearing the Clinique Cheek Pop in Peach Pop. On my lips, I'm wearing the Nudestix Matte Lip and Cheek Pencil in the shade Belle. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible Eyeshadow Crayon in the shade Enduring Rose. On top of that base, I'm wearing the MAC Eyeshadow in Expensive Pink. Blown out in my crease and transition area, I'm using MAC Free to Be. For my transition color, I use Matte Singh from the Balm Meet Matte Nude palette. In my crease, I use the Anastasia eyeshadow in Bengal. This is in the Tamana palette, but this is a permanent shade that is sold individually. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, I'm wearing MAC Expensive Pink. On my lips, I'm wearing the Buxom Full On Lip Cream in the shade Creamsicle. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the Milani Shadow Eyes Pencil in Snowy White. Over top of that base, I'm using the MAC Pigment in the shade True Chartreuse. For my transition color, I'm using Anastasia Birkin. And in my crease, I'm using Matte Lopez from the Balm Meet Matrimony palette. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, I'm wearing MAC Blush in Melba. On my lips, I'm wearing a combination of a lip liner and a lip gloss. I lined and filled in my lips completely with the ColourPop Lippie pencil in the shade Aquarius. And I went over top of that with the Buxom Full On Lip Polish in Sandy. Here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible Eyeshadow Crayon in the shade Enduring Rose. Over top of that base, I'm using the MAC Pigment / Glitter in the shade Rose. For my transition color in the inner part of my crease, I used MAC Free to Be. For my outer corner and the outer part of my crease, I used MAC Deep Damson. On my cheeks, I used the Balm Hot Mama Blush. On my lips, I used a combination of a lip liner and a lip gloss. I lined my lips and filled them in lightly with the ColourPop Lippie pencil in Razor. I went over top of that with the ColourPop Ultra Glossy Lip in Aquarius. So here is today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the Maybelline Color Tattoo in Edgy Emerald. On my lid, on top of that base, I'm wearing MAC Shimmermoss. For my transition color, I'm wearing Matte Singh from the Balm Meet Matte Nude palette. In my crease, I'm using a mixture of a couple shades. I started out with Urban Decay Buck. I blended over top of that with Urban Decay Naked. And then I went over both of those Urban Decay shades with Anastasia Bengal. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, I'm wearing the Benefit Blush in Coralista. On my lips, I'm wearing the NARS Audacious Lipstick in Raquel. Here's today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the Maybelline Color Tattoo in Too Cool. On my lid, I'm using MAC Stars and Rockets. In my crease, I'm using Anastasia Buon Fresco. From the Lorac Pro 2, I'm using Nectar as my transition color and Plum as my outer corner color. Here what the eyes look like up close. And this look was actually created by my friend Jean. I asked her what eyeshadows she thought would pair nicely with Stars and Rockets, and these are the shadows that she chose. On my cheeks, I'm wearing the Milani Matte Baked Blush and Delicioso Pink. On my lips, I'm wearing the Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick in Primrose. Here's today's look using my single shadows of the month. As a base on my lid, I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible Eyeshadow Crayon in Enduring Rose. I'm using MAC Expensive Pink on my lid, MAC Free to Be as my transition color, and MAC Deep Damson as my crease color. Here what the eyes look like up close. On my cheeks, to match my eyelid shade, I am using the Balm's Hot Mama Blush. On my lips, I'm using the Maybelline Baby Lips Crayon in the shade Blush Burst. So now to talk about the formula, texture, and pigmentation, starting with the MAC Pressed Shadows. So tell me if you guys feel this too. For me, I think that both in the eyeshadows and the blushes, the eyeshadows that came in the compacts were a lot more firm and stiff, and the shadows that I purchased already in pan form are a lot creamier and more pigmented and easier to pick up on a brush. I have found that to be true with every single eyeshadow and blush I've gotten in a pot form and also in a pan. Of course, I did depot this one. They are still very pigmented. It's just that the texture in the compacts is a lot more densely pressed and I have to work my brush into it a little bit more. Let me know if you've experienced that. But because of that, I would always recommend buying them in the pan form, especially because they are a lot cheaper that way, and I actually like the quality better in the pan form. And the pan form of MAC eyeshadows are only $6, which is actually very, very affordable, same price as Makeup Geek. Starting with MAC Stars and Rockets, this is my all-time favorite purple eyeshadow. I think this is absolutely stunning. I love this lavender. I really love the blue flash in this one as well. And I'm not sure if it's because it's a Luxe Pearl finish or if it's because I purchased this in the compact, but this is a little bit more sheer of a shadow, and I usually have to put on 2 or 3 layers of it to get that full-on color. I don't mind that. It applies really easily with my flat shader brush. And I wanted to talk about the base that I use with that shadow. I don't always mention bases unless I think it really makes a difference, and for Stars and Rockets, I think this base does. So instead of putting it over top of a purple base, I like to put it over top of Maybelline Color Tattoo in Too Cool, which is a shimmery opalescent white color, and putting this underneath of Stars and Rockets really makes that blue shift stand out, and it is just so pretty. Also in these videos, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't talk about the eyeshadows that I tried using along with my main shadows. For Stars and Rockets, I tried using a couple different purples in my crease, and I had some difficulties with them. So the palettes I tried using are the Urban Decay Naked palette and the Lorac Pro 2 palette. So I actually did 2 different eye looks. The first one was with the Naked palette. I didn't like it, so I did delete that footage, and then I redid the Stars and Rockets look with the Lorac Pro 2. I liked it a lot better overall, but the formula of the purple shadows in these palettes I do not like. So from the Urban Decay Naked palette, I was using this shade Hustle, which is a really deep purpley gray color. It looks more purple in the pan, but it can look really gray or brown in a swatch. But when I pair it with other purple eyeshadows, I feel like it does pull more purple. And when I originally bought Stars and Rockets in my very first tutorial, using that many years ago, I used Hustle as my crease color. I tried it again and I absolutely hated it. I don't know if it's because I've had this palette for so long. This is the oldest palette in my collection, or if it's just the quality of this eyeshadow, but it looked so incredibly muddy on my eye. This color is just so weird because it's brown, gray, purple, but it did not apply nicely. It did not look good at all. Super duper muddy. So I would not recommend using Hustle. So then the second time I used it with the Lorac Pro 2 palette. This is a palette that is in my chopping block series because I'm on the fence about whether I want to keep it or not. So from this palette, I used Nectar as my transition color, which I actually think was beautiful. I really like using a peachy transition color with a purple lid. I love that. So that was an awesome feature of this palette. But then I used Plum as an outer corner, outer crease color. This looks like a beautiful plum in this palette. Well, on my eyes, again, it didn't pull as purple as it looks in this palette for some reason, even though you think it should, because I'm pairing it with other purple shadows. It pulled a little bit more gray, a little bit more brown, just like a dark color, not showing up as purple. So I don't like this formula at all, and I was not impressed with Hustle. So I had a hard time finding a crease color, a purple crease color that I think would work. Let me know of good purples that you guys have. I know purple is a difficult color to formulate. I do have MAC Fig 1 and Makeup Geek Curfew. I think I will try those in the future with those looks, but I did want to let you all know about that and the trouble I was having. But I loved Nectar as a transition color. I think any light peachy color would be beautiful. I also think that the theBalm Matte Singh would work really nicely because it is a very light peachy tan. And Stars and Rockets is just a beautiful lid color. I still loved the look because I love this eyeshadow so much. So definitely recommend this if you are looking for a purple eyeshadow. It is absolutely stunning. Next we have MAC Shimmermoss. As I said, this shadow was discontinued, which is a huge bummer. Aquadelic is similar, but I believe that one has a frost finish instead. This one can be a little bit more on the sheer side. I also have to build this one up. Again, I'm not sure if it is because of the Luxe Pearl finish or if it's because of the fact that this is an eyeshadow that I originally purchased in a compact. But I do have the perfect base to go along with MAC Shimmermoss, and that is the Maybelline Color Tattoo in Edgy Emerald. Can you guys just look at how similar these are? perfect combination. I think that this color may have been discontinued as well because Maybelline got rid of all of the colorful shades and just kept the neutrals. But I love the formula of these color tattoos as bases. And again, it does help pull out that gold flash because even the base has that gold flash to it. So it really just makes the eyeshadow look its absolute best. And I absolutely love MAC Shimmermoss as a lid color. And I do like the formula when I pair it with this base and layer it up a little bit. And with this eyeshadow, again, I want to talk about the shadows I used along with it. And again, I believe from the very first time that I used the MAC Shimmermoss eyeshadow, I used Urban Decay Naked as a transition color and Urban Decay Buck as a crease color. In this palette, these two shades look very warm to me. And you think they would pull warm because Shimmermoss is more of a warm eyeshadow with those golden undertones. But for some reason, when I used it, it pulled more neutral and not warm. And here's the problem I'm having. I'm trying to look for other warm browns in my collection because I have a lot, but I don't want it to be orange or red. I just want it to be a warm brown. So I'm going to have to keep digging and find some other shades to go along with it. I used to love Urban Decay Naked and Buck with Shimmermoss, but I don't anymore because it's just not warm enough for me. So again, even though I am having some trouble with the companion shadows, MAC Shimmermoss is absolutely phenomenal on the lid. Next, we have MAC Expensive Pink. This is a beautiful eyeshadow. I did not have any trouble applying this one, and it was very pigmented. And this is also a Velux Pearl finish. So I'm thinking that it really does have to do with the fact that I purchased this one in the pan instead of in a compact, but I'm not sure. Let me know your all's experience, but I'm feeling kind of convinced. I actually wore this eyeshadow in 2 different looks, and I wore it on my lid. And then I also wore MAC Free to Be. Every time I wore Expensive Pink, I wore these 2 shades together. And I was wearing MAC Free to Be as a transition color, which was really pretty. Because this is more of a light medium coral, I am able to pull it off. I just take a little bit of product and a really big fluffy brush to really blow it out in my transition color, and it is beautiful. It really adds some great warmth to the look without looking too orange, which I absolutely love. So these two together used in that way I thought were fantastic. I did use a base with MAC Expensive Pink, but I don't feel like it was absolutely necessary. I think you could basically use any base and it would be okay. So with that look, I did try 2 different crease colors and 2 different makeup looks overall. And I actually enjoyed both of the looks, but I did want to let you know what I used. So for the first look, which was more of a warm, peachy overall look, I used Anastasia Bengal. This one is in the Tomato palette, but this is a shade that is sold individually. How beautiful is this color? It is the most perfect medium warm brown on me. So wearing Bengal in my crease in that look, I thought was beautiful, and it really tied in the look so it didn't look so peach. The warm mix with the peach looked beautiful, especially with the cheek and lip products I paired with it, which you guys will have already seen in my look. So I used Expensive Pink and Free to Be the same way, but then I just used a different crease color. For my crease color, I used MAC Deep Damson, a beautiful burgundy color that I think paired with these peachy shades quite nicely. And with other eyeshadows from different brands in previous months, I've kind of done this same color combo and really liked it. So I tried it out with MAC Deep Damson, and I think it looks absolutely beautiful and obviously a very different kind of look, but it still works. So MAC Expensive Pink and Free to Be were a lot more versatile than I had originally thought, and I really love the looks that I came up with using them. And the formula of those 2 shades are absolutely incredible, very pigmented, and they blend out really nicely. Again, those were 2 shades I purchased in the pan form. So those are my thoughts on the MAC regular pressed shadows. Moving on to the pigments, starting with Rose. So in the look I created with this shadow, I paired it with MAC Deep Damson. And MAC Expensive Pink is actually quite similar to the MAC Rose pigment. So basically I just switched out the rose pigment today for the Expensive Pink shadow to see if I can get the same kind of look, and I can. But in today's look, I did make sure to wear different cheek and lip colors so it didn't look exactly the same. I had a terrible time working with this pigment, and I'm thinking that a big reason for that is because it is more of a glitter to me than it is a pigment. Keep in mind, I've had this pigment for probably 5 years now, so the formula could have totally changed, and maybe it used to be incredible and it just didn't work for me. So I tried using this on top of a cream eyeshadow. I tried using this on top of a glitter base, and I also tried using this wet. and then I tried multiple combinations of all three. It did not work for me. I could not press enough of this pigment on my lids to get it to look opaque. It kept being sheer when I would go to blend out my crease colors. It just flaked off, got all over my face. Working with this made me feel like I was working with one of those Stila Glitter and Glow shadows, which I haven't used, but from what I've heard from people's experiences, you have to do your crease and transition colors first because you can't blend once you've got that on your lid. And that was the experience I had with this rose pigment. It was such a mess, and it is beautiful, but it is so incredibly sheer. Even when I applied it wet, it didn't make a difference and it wouldn't stick to my eye. It was just sticking to the brush. So I know a lot of people love this, so I'm assuming it's because I've just had this for too long, but I wouldn't recommend it because of my personal experience, and I'm not going to be reaching for it because it would not stick on my eye, but the color is beautiful. Moving on to my next pigment, which is MAC Teal. This color is so beautiful. I love that this isn't too light or too dark. It has a beautiful amount of shimmer to it without being too shimmery or looking too flat matte. It is just the most beautiful color ever. Absolutely love using it on my lid, and it really is a beautiful darker color on me because I don't tend to wear really dark shades, especially on the lid, because I have very small eyes and it looks like my eyes are basically freaking shut if I have a really dark color against my lash line. So this looked beautiful and kind of smoky on me, and in the video I was wearing that eyeshadow look. I was wearing this more rocker shirt. It looked super cool, so I love that. I'm pretty sure I just put that one over top of a cream eyeshadow and it worked perfectly, no fallout, and I'm just assuming it's because of the formula not having any glitter. I didn't even have a ton of fallout. The formula of that, the product just adheres together on a dry brush with no problem. So the formula of that one was fantastic and so easy to work with for a pigment. I was actually very surprised and impressed. And the shadows I paired Teal with would be Urban Decay Naked and Buck. Again, they did not pull warm enough for me, so I didn't really like them, and I felt like they looked a little bit muddy. So I needed to go through my collection and find my perfect warm transition crease colors that aren't too orangey to find to pair with these kind of shades. But I love this, and I can't remember if this pigment is still available or not, but if it is, highly recommend it because it's gorgeous. And then my last pigment is MAC True Chartreuse. I love the look I created with this, and this is going to be my tutorial at the end of the month, so you'll see that video coming very soon. This pigment is stunning. It is the perfect True Chartreuse yellow green. It is a matte finish. The formula of this pigment is incredible. I just used a dry brush. I applied it on top of a cream base and I had no fallout at all, which is incredible for it being a pigment, and I had a dry brush. But to make that True Chartreuse be as intense as possible, I did put it over top of a matte white base. My favorite is the Milani Shadow Eyes Pencil in Snowy White, which was limited edition, but you can use NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk. I don't like the NYX Jumbo Pencils because they crease on me, but it is a great option as well. That base really helped this be really intense, but honestly I don't think it's necessary because look how intense it is on its own. Dry swatch. Incredible. I love that shade so much, which surprised me. And in my monthly makeup basket, I asked you guys for some suggestions of colors to pair with it, and a lot of you guys told me to rock some more orangey shades, so that's what I tried and absolutely loved. So I wanted to show you the colors I paired with it because I thought that they really complemented that eyeshadow and made the look just perfection. So from the Balm Meet Matrimony palette, I use the shade Matte Lopez, a beautiful medium warm orangey tan color. This basically looks like clay, which was so beautiful. And then for my transition color with that look, I use Anastasia Birkin, which is a very light peachy tan color on my skin tone. On some people this pools more rosy, but those colors went with True Chartreuse perfectly, and with the rest of my face products I chose more neutral peachy colors. Incredible. It looked so good. I love that look. I'm so disappointed that MAC discontinued this. The Chartreuse pigment they have now is not the same. So for these MAC pigments, I purchased mine from thebodyneeds2.com, which is a business that is no longer around. So I'm going to try to look for some other reputable sites online where you can find these MAC pigment samples, so I will try to do that for you guys. You can get your hands on it as well. So that was my single shadows of the month. Use my MAC eyeshadows and pigments. I know I talked a lot, but I had a lot of opinions on these eyeshadows, but more specifically the ones that I paired with them. I would love to know your thoughts if you tried out any of these shadows and your thoughts on MAC eyeshadows in general. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.